All righty, traders, what's up? Jamie Saettele here. It is October 27, 2021, and this is the FX Power Hour with me, Jamie Saettele. So let's get to it. Obviously, with all the central bank stuff going on here this week, starting to get some movement as it was relatively quiet, of course, the first couple of days of this week. But BOC today, BOJ is later tonight. At least where I am, it will be in the evening. And then we've got, of course, ECB tomorrow. So a lot going on here in the back half of this week. All right, so let's start with US dollar, as we often do, to get a broad kind of general overview of what is going on with the buck. All right, so again, this is the US dollar index, not DXY. Remember, we came into at the very end of September, early October. We kind of switched and we're thinking resistance here up in the dollar. We could still get another pop. It's really, I'm kind of neutral here at these levels on a near-term basis. Bigger picture, we've come into pretty decent levels for the dollar. Again, this is that surge there at the end of September. We ran into, what was that? Or didn't quite get to it, but that huge level, 12,130, 12,160. That was, of course, the big low from March 2020, and then the highs back from September of last year and October of last year. So essentially unchanged over the course of the year. Honing in here near term, zooming in, right? We've got had a very, very, very tight range here the last week or so. And we did reverse. We're looking at a channel here from the low back in February, right? That center line is right where we bottomed. It's also the 50-day average, by the way. So we've been kind of riding that 50-day average. You can see for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days or so. And zooming in even more, we are focused on this really short-term channel. And one sec here, I got to check something out here. I'm involved in a couple positions here right now, so I want to see what's up. All right. Let's see here real fast. Sorry about that. All right. Okay. All right, moving on. Okay, so where was I? Sorry about that. Okay, moving on. We are following this very short-term channel in US dollar, right? So we've come up to initial resistance. Don't have a super strong opinion right here, other than noting that we've been consolidating in a very tight range. Now, to me, the bigger test would be if we do get a bit more of a dollar bounce, get through this level here, then we'd have really solid resistance up near, say, let's call it 12,050. Okay, there's a lot up there. You've got that August high. You've obviously got the top of the channel. You've also got a series of highs. Oh, the 618 retrace from this last little leg down as well. So the reason you'd want to pay attention to that 618 is if we did roll over, if that September 29th high is the next high in in this bigger, in what could be a bigger down cycle for the buck, then the wave count would go something like 1212, and you'd be expecting us to reverse or find the next high near that 618, right? So it's really a holding pattern, kind of a wait and see for now with the dollar. Again, up here, you'd want to pay attention to resistance. If we do break down through here, then you've got, you know, much more of a confident stance, if you will, in the dollar heading lower. So again, that's that for now. You know, don't really have much else to add other than pay attention to how we resolve from this tight little range that we've had for the last 5 days. All right, let's move to Euro. And I'm going to go really short term here. All right, so this is kind of how I'm counting this short term action in the in Euro. And again, ECB is tomorrow, so you know this is obviously timely as we head into tomorrow's event. All right, so I'm looking at this as a wave 1 up, again from the low back in October, right? Wave 2 down, wave 3 up. If you want to get all nitty gritty on it, we are looking at this as a little wave 4 triangle count like this: A, B, C, D, E, right? Pop to that new wave 5 high, and you know, this would be called a truncated 5th wave because you did not go through or you did not make a new price high. And I will have some, I'm sure, asking questions about how can you be counting this as an impulse because wave 1 overlaps wave 4? Well, it's a good question, and I would say look at closing prices. Okay, so R.N. Elliott himself actually was looked at closing prices when he counted his waves, and if we do that, we got 1, 2, 3, no overlap 4 and 5, right? Also, he, you know, in the guidelines, if you will, and Elliott, leveraged markets such as FX do tend to maybe get more spikes and overlap because of that leverage. So no rules broken here. All right, so we got the wave A down, probably consolidating here over the last, you know, 2 days in what's a choppy B wave. Again, ECB tomorrow, so don't expect any huge resolution, right, until we get tomorrow's news. All right, so what I will be looking for, or where my head's at heading into ECB, is you know, resolve whatever this is, B wave. You could spike up here. It doesn't, you know, again, doesn't matter. But eventually, we're looking for resolution for a spike lower, C wave, maybe support between 1550 and 1570. Okay, and then we'd be looking to go higher. So, you know, how would I play this? How do I trade this? Well, after ECB comes out, again, you want to wait until you know, give it a little bit of room. You know, once we get the announcement, you'll, you know, get the spikes out of the way. Like to wait, you know, maybe 10-15 minutes until we have, you know, some initial reaction, and then go from there. Right. So if we were to just like tank tomorrow straight down to new lows, obviously the scenario is out of the is no longer, and we would move on and figure it out from there. But that is what I'm thinking heading into tomorrow. All right, let's go to cable. Okay, so this is one of the charts we had last night, and you can see here we came up into this resistance, channel resistance. Again, this is June high, September high. And we traded up there on the 19th, so a little over a week ago. And since then, we've consolidated above it, had a big upper wick last yesterday's price action, and 200-day average is just above. And today, we got what I would consider the trigger for a possible short here, right? Because we broke below this trend line. So again, ranges are small, so I'm kind of looking at really short-term charts here, but I would look at this as, let's call it 3770 resistance right here, okay? And the level that I'd be targeting for support, and again, these are very short-term ranges, as that's what the market is offering right now. And I'd be looking at probably 36.50 or so for, an initial target area on a short. So again, not making any grand, proclamations here regarding the coming moves, but 36.50 possible support, 37.70 possible resistance, right, to short. Now, another reason why this 36.50 would be possible support, again, with the way I look at things, right? You see the little parallel, these gray parallels. If you're new to my type of analysis here, these are what we call the 25 and 75 lines within the channel. And you can see how price went through this, right? Price reacted, it was resistance at one point, and then we traded around it and came back up to the top of the channel. So that's a level, just like any horizontal support resistance level that the market has traded into and reacted to. So that is why that is considered a support level, right? So it's the top side of this line. So again, 37.70, 36.50 are the levels to focus on, I think, for the next day or so. Obviously, if we come up out of this, then that would be considered an important behavior change, and we would be, flipping to, a much more constructive stance. Something else that I want to highlight here. This is these are futures charts, which I do, and I trade spot, but I do include this in my analysis because of the volume, right? We have a centralized exchange in order to study the volume. And these lines you see here are anchored volume weighted average price. So it's like a moving average, but it also includes volume, right? So it'd be weighted, more volume for, a bar that has more volume is going to be have more weight, right? For that data point and that average. All right. So the thick one is just anchored from the first of the year. Very objective, right? Kind of above bullish, below bearish, tends to act as support resistance at times. In fact, you can see back here in September, it was resistance, and we've just been trading under it as well. So again, you've got the 200-day average just above there, along with that 2021 VWAP. And also we have VWAP anchored from the price high, which was in June. So we do have a lot above the market here to, suggest resistance or that we're trading into and against. So yeah, I like the short side right now with, again, that 37.70 resistance or so. All right, let's move on. We actually don't look at dollar Swiss a whole lot, but there are some decent levels here to pay attention to. So if I go to a daily, now the really big level here that you're going to want to pay attention to, you see this channel that starts from the January low, right? January low, June low. We've extended that off the April high to make a channel. So the bottom of that channel is about 91. Right, you've got those two lows down here from August, and someone may be sitting here after they read a textbook on technical analysis and say, you can't call that a trend line, it only touches 2 points. Well, that would be true in the literature. However, you can notice here that the center line of this channel, guess where we topped right on it precisely in July and September. Right? What does that mean? That means that the market is adhering, if you will, to this channel, or the channel is describing the price action extremely well. So with that, we get confidence in saying that this level will probably hold. Right? We should get a decent reaction there. Right? There's never an always. Right? We're not trying to predict anything, but we have a pretty strong inclination, if you will, that this level will hold. And again, it's defended by these lows here as well. So For me, dollar Swiss down here at 91, that's really a big level to pay attention to. You can see I've got the little red line up here, this channel, short-term channel. That could be resistance if you spike up into that level first, right? So let's call it 91 support, maybe just above 92.25 for possible resistance, okay? So that is dollar Swiss, and that is a level that I will pay attention to, especially, you know, as we head into ECB and we get, you know, some bigger moves here in European FX as we head into the back half of the week. All right, let's go to dollar. Actually, let's go to Aussie. Do some commodity FX here. Okay, so this is one of the charts we had from last night. Did have that inflation data yesterday in Australia, and the market. We came out. I was hoping, frankly, so I went to bed last night. I was hoping that I'd wake up and have Aussie up here a little bit. You can see again, we've got a channel drawn here from that low in August. And there's a lot up here for resistance. You've got these lows from April. You've got that low from February. The rally from that August low is actually in 2 equal legs, right? Which is a common relationship. So A, B, C, possibly. And that's 75.42. You can see we spiked up into that here on October 20th. And what else did I want to highlight? Yeah, so if we were to get another pop higher here, we'd be looking for channel resistance up around 75.70 or so. I don't know if we get there. Remember that British pound chart I showed you with the volume weighted average price stuff? We have a very similar dynamic here with Australian dollar. So Aussie dollar, again, 2021 VWAP here in the bold line, and VWAP from the high here in the thinner line. That actually nailed the top over here last week. So, you know, just like a pound, you've got a lot that we're trading into here for resistance or possible resistance. And, you know, that makes me, one, want to be short into resistance, but two, it does tell me if we do break above it, that's a big behavior change for the market, right? So as it stands now, I lean towards the downside for Aussie and looking down initially towards like 74.20 or so. And that would be, you can see the center line of the channel, okay? Look at the resistance that we had on that level back in June. In July, we even tagged it here on the way up back in, I guess that was 2 weeks ago on the 15th. So if we were to come back down to this, we'd be thinking maybe this is support. And that, again, that's going to be around 74.20, okay? Finally, let me show you a couple of interesting little signals that I got on Aussie. Okay, so we're going to throw up. So this is the 200-day average. Forgot to mention that. Again, very similar to cable in that we are under that 200-day average as well. And I'm going to put in, so we've got these little reversals here, right? These magenta bars. I'm going to put a filter on it to show them when they're at 50-day highs and you reverse under the 200-day average, okay? That happened last week, again on the 15th. And just looking back, you can see there are some pretty solid signals here. Obviously, this was a signal here which would have been negated right away because we broke up through this high. But you can see if I scroll back and look, you don't get a lot of these. In fact, you go years without them. Right? We had some here. This would have been back in 2013. You can see some bullish ones here. This is 2010. On the way up back in 2006, we had a bunch of them, which were great, right? This is a short here, it's a buy here, it's a buy here, it's a buy here. So I don't know. It's given all the stuff we have above the market here for resistance, you know, VWAP, 200-day average, 2 equal legs, channel, former lows, right? That's a lot. So I'm okay looking on the downside for Aussie here in the near term. Now, that said, I don't really have much of a signal yet. So if we were to zoom out here, probably not waiting for a signal here because you're going to be already down in support at that point. Another way to do it, let's see if we have any high volume levels. We don't have any high volume levels here on the market. It's actually down here. But again, we might not get a trigger, and that's okay. Ideal in a perfect world, you kind of spike up here and put in a reversal bar, and then maybe you'd want to short. You also have better reward to risk at that point because you'd be, giving yourself more downside, right, from 75.70 than you'd have from here. But yeah, that's the look on Aussie. All right, let's go to Kiwi. Be awfully similar to the Aussie dollar, and in this case, you can see the two equal legs. I'm thinking that 1, 2, this is a big 3. I'm thinking we've got more of a 4-wave or a 4th wave sideways move here from the high last week. That doesn't mean you could still come back down to like 71. In fact, if you threw up a fib from here to here, your 38.2 is right there at 70.90. So that's in line, with proposed or with relationships and the guidelines of Elliott. So there's nothing to do here. You're in the middle of a chop fest, but basically 71-ish proposed support, proposed resistance. Again, like Aussie, is a little bit higher, and that's going to be like 72.50. In fact, if this was the low a couple days ago for this 4th wave, then wave 1 would equal wave 5 at 72.52, which again is a common relationship. So just at this point, know the channel. Now, if I zoom out a little bit more, right, this is a really bullish setup on a bigger picture. You can see this big low here with a tight high right shoulder neckline, right? That's exactly where we bottomed back in August. And then you've got this wedge that we broke out up to the top side. If we do get that 5-wave move up and pull back, you'd be looking eventually for support maybe on the top side of this. So again, that could take a while to play out, but that is something to pay close attention to on a longer term basis. And as we go back to our trusty VWAP stuff here, I will note that low in August was also right on volume weighted average price anchored VWAP from the March 2020 low, from that COVID panic low, if you will, right? So, and this kind of fits, by the way, this New Zealand dollar setup on a longer term basis really fits, if you will, with my call it a bias if you want, but like the fact that the dollar, we had that big move down into the beginning of this year or middle of this year for some other currencies, and then we got the correction, and I do think the dollar rally is a correction. The question is, has it completed yet, or do we have one more little pop? So it fits with having the dollar maybe on a longer term downtrend. And Kiwi might be kind of trying to lead the way out of that, again, given this longer term setup. So, and it would make sense, I guess, if you think about it from a, inflationary standpoint. Look at the big exports for New Zealand, right? You've got, people forget about lumber, but and meat, and those prices have gone through the roof. So, their central bank might be doing a little more a little earlier. People maybe aren't really thinking about that yet. All right, so let's move on to the next commodity currency, dollar CAD. All right, so dollar CAD, I came into today actually kind of constructive, and I actually bought a little bit down here at the 123 test. We're 23.44 right now. A lot to be determined here. However, you know, the sentiment on Twitter, as I call it, the modern trading floor, right, got really loud when we were down at 123. There was a lot of, let's call it, you know, victory laps, kind of told you so, you know, dollar CAD, blah, 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 blank Bank of Canada, this and that. I get it. And those people were definitely right. However, when they're screaming from the rooftops about it, it might be time to go the other way. And did get about, you know, a 40 pip bounce so far. So nothing to write home about, but it's just a little intraday trade. But yeah, so before BOC today, I was thinking that the drop from up here on the 20th of September was, you know, unfolding in an impulsive manner, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Is this the top of 4? It very well could be, right? I was looking for more like 124.70 to 125 or so, because that is just a very well-defined level. However, we could be in a, you know, more of a complex fourth wave. Either way, you know, once we finish 5 down here, you'd be expecting a bigger move higher, you know, anyway. So to me, probably not a whole lot to do here in terms of dollar CAD, unless you're trading on a really short-term basis. Other than that, you know, I'd wait for this to kind of play out a bit and maybe get yourself, you know, 5 waves down and then maybe look for, you know, signs of a low. Something I will mention today is that pay attention to price action like over the next day, because we just had the biggest, this is an hourly chart of CAD futures. We just had the biggest 1 hour volume since, like, oh man, it's even more than that. I was thinking it was April of this year, and might have to go back even more. So going back like over a year, and there's nothing that compares to it. So I'd have to dig deeper in the data for that. But yeah, when you have those huge volume points like that, I like to call them pivotal points, and whichever the way the market wants to resolve from that level, you know, it kind of gives you an objective level to trade against. So, you know, what I mean by that is if we start to trade, hold on here, if we start to trade higher, let's go to like a 60-minute chart. So what you want to do is just throw like a horizontal line on this bar, right? And if you start to trade higher from here, you know, in an impulsive fashion, draw that horizontal line that closes like 23.40, and that would actually be a support level to trade against or trade into over the next day, right? And that's it. So it's kind of a little trick. All right, let's go to dollar yen. All right, dollar yen. We go to a weekly chart here, and interesting level here. This was our kind of our longer term target, or yeah, you call it a medium term target if you want, up at 114.50s to 70s because of these highs here, right, from 2017 and back in 2018. So it's also that channel line, which you can see we absolutely nailed, like to the tick. And since then, we've come off a bit, right? Now, if I zoom in here to a 4-hour chart, we were looking at 2 levels here, 1420 and 1320. 1420 did hold as resistance. We're reversing a bit on the upside right now, but essentially look at 114 or so, the underside of this line right here, okay? And that's going to be a level for resistance. So this could happen during our little discussion here, right? So yeah, let's see if 114 or so can hold as resistance today. If it does, you can, you know, be looking to short with a really tight stop, like above 1430. Your big support probably going to be down near that 12. Go to a daily chart so you can see it. Would be down near that 1220 level. That's just the high here from February of last year of 2020. It's also, again, here's another example of those 25-75 lines that play within the channel. So, just look at the action around these major levels. Okay. 75 line resistance, 75 line resistance, 75 line resistance. We really took off from the center line. So again, since these were resistance levels before, you'd be expecting this line to now provide support. And again, that's going to be near 112, maybe just below, or sorry, near 112 to 112.20, which is that former high. So that is where my head's at on dollar yen. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's go to some metals. Always good to look at gold when you're looking at yen. Daily chart. Broke above a very short-term trend line. And frankly, we are sitting right at support. So, constructive gold here on a short-term basis. Looking up towards the bigger channel line, which again is off that August 2020 high, excuse me, and then June high of this year. And just like we were talking about, remember with dollar Swiss, right? The center line action. Look what the center line here was support. Remember we had that big flash crash in August. But if you look at it kind of on a closing basis, right, that was ended up also being, we turned up from near there. Point being is you're looking for that to provide resistance because of the action around that center line. So that's kind of a magnet for me. Also, you've got highs up there, so it's a pretty obvious level anyway. So let's call that 1835 to 1850 or so. And frankly, you're sitting at support right now. All right, silver also sitting at support right now. You've got the channel from the high, bottomed on the channel. You can see that we've been trading on that center line here, right? We can kind of meander sideways for a little bit. This might set up really nice for a big pop to the upside. And again, we'd be looking for eventual, upside resumption and the next big test, decision point, as I like to call it, going to be up here at that channel line. Let's call it, mid 26.35, 26.40, something like that. All right, let's look at some other commodities. Copper is really important right here. So copper, right, kind of putting in a double top, if you want to call it that. I say it's a possible double top, I guess. Sold off really hard from the highs here. And we are coming into a level that if we are going to go higher, then we probably are going higher from right here, right? That's the top side of this former resistance line. So very well defined in terms of, tagging 3 points and all that stuff. You can see even, traded into it for a couple days before we broke out on October 13th. So 2 weeks ago exactly. And yeah, that's going to be, about 433 or so. So pay close attention to copper. Crude oil. Very interesting here. So we had this big, or it wasn't huge, but a decent sized bearish candle here the other day, 2 days ago, I guess on Monday. And again, nothing to write home about yet. But if you look at the line here off those last two big highs, March and July, okay, it's a little bit above the current level, and then a very short-term channel, right? Those two lines intersect, and it's up about 86.75. If we can get a pop into there, I'd pay close attention and be on guard for reversal. However, if we don't, okay, and we end up trading lower from here, then obviously pay attention to the lower channel line, which is like right there, and that's 80.80, right? So that's going to be a key level to pay attention to for either support and resumption to the upside up to here, or if we break it, that would be, again, an important behavior change, and we'd probably be in for a decent sized correction in crude if that were to occur. Okay, so these are all the levels to watch. And you notice as I speak about all these markets and charts and everything, I'm not predicting anything, right? I'm not saying this is where that goes, this is where this goes. I'm saying we have setups, right? We got bullish setups, we got bearish setups. We've also got things that markets that if a lot of if-then statements. If this happens, then pay attention, for this. If that happens, then pay attention for this, right? Or think this way or think that way. That's really what it's about, right? The market's giving you these setups are all inputs, and you guide your decision making based on those inputs. All right, let's take a look at some indices right now. Okay, so clearly here's the S&P 500. It's got some pretty big divergence on the RSI, right? New high, not new high momentum. But the key level I want to, address here or talk about is the fact that the S&P is at a new high and the NASDAQ's not. So here's NASDAQ futures. And this is a chart from a couple of days ago. This is the channel you're looking at from the March low, okay? It's a beautiful channel. It's where we bottomed here back in October, took off from there again a couple of weeks ago. Channel, top or channel high basically identified that high and tagged those highs yesterday in futures as well. But also the center line here, which was a big support here, right, on the 19th of August. Yesterday's bar, surging above and then coming back below. To me, that was bearish. Now, of course, here we are today, not making any downside follow through on this. But point being is be very careful up here because this is proposed resistance, right? You've got support here from that center line. Former support becomes resistance and all that good stuff. And we saw that with yesterday's bar here. Now, I did not get like anything special, like a reversal signal in terms of, what is it? In terms of like a big volume reversal, which is something I scan for each day across a host of futures markets and not just currencies, of course, but also equity indices and commodities. We did not get anything like that yesterday, despite having, a price reversal bar, if you will, but we did not have enough volume to do anything. So, I'm sitting here just observing. It's kind of wait and see at this point for me, right? Okie dokie. So, we should probably take a look at Bitcoin. Just always love to look at some Bitcoin. And man, for me, I don't know. This does not, I know that Bitcoin is all the rage and all that, but this just looks dangerous as hell to me. Trend line back to March of 2020. Again, that's, March 2020 all over the place. And holy crap, look at that. We went from under 4,000 at that time to over 65,000 here just a couple of days ago. It's a hell of a move. And I mean, it kind of speaks for itself, right? I mean, this is trend line that was support, and then it was resistance. It's been resistance on the way up every single time we've hit it. Again, I'm not sitting here saying to short Bitcoin or anything. I mean, I'm not even really sure how you do that, frankly. I guess you could do it with, they do have an ETF now, but Lord knows I haven't really looked at the specs on that as far as borrowing shares or anything, but I'm sure there's some derivatives out there that people could play. But yeah, I mean, my point being here is that you've got failing at the price highs along with this underside of this trend line, which is very well defined. I don't know, doesn't look like a extremely bullish setup to me. So that's just me, I guess. But It's my opinion. All right, so that's really all I got. You know, if there are any questions or anything, you know, you can always tweet them, you know, to me throughout the week, and I'll address them during these webinars. But other than that, I'm pretty much done here in terms of my outlook on big FX and some commodities and what I'm thinking with equities up here. So yeah, have a wonderful rest of your week and good luck with BOJ and ECB and everything. And hopefully Bank of Canada was all right for you. And yeah, as I leave, I would just say, don't forget about this US dollar chart here. It does look like we are trying to base for maybe a pop up into this 12.050 level, and then we'll have another decision to make. Okay, so again, Jamie Saettele here, Scandinavian Capital Markets with the FX Power Hour. And do not forget to, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll probably see, or you should see a way to sign up to receive all the information and everything that we send out, and charts and ideas and all that good stuff. Okay, so again, Jamie Saettele here signing off, and have a great rest of your week. All right, bye.